This is In the Pursuit of Joy podcast. It's Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you listen to this podcast weekly, you'll know that, but I'm only saying it because I have to basically remind myself of what day it is on account that I've been moving around a lot. And I had a hard time figuring out what day it was at some point. And I guess you kind of have to be there. But I hope you had a great week last weekend, and of course we had Memorial Day weekend, so kind of a short work week. And I hope that you spent it wisely and peacefully with your family and friends. And you already know that I was on travel. I was on a little adventure. I didn't feel like coming back to the home base following the cruise, leaving out of Miami. So that was a good road trip. I won't be doing another road trip. Someone suggested that I do that this week, and I looked at the map and I looked at gas prices, and I realized, no, this is not going to happen. That's not going to lead to any joy. I'm not saying I'm cheap. I'm just saying that there was no way to justify just taking off. Sometimes a road trip has to happen, and it should come out of the blue, and it should be enjoyable. So in this case, I would have to plot, and I know me, I want to plot where I'm going, and I just don't want to get too clingy with strict planning and all that. I just wanted to enjoy being on the road and just being free, which offered me a whole lot more freedom than being on the cruise ship. I know I mentioned that last week briefly, and it had to do a lot more with the fact that I'm hitching a ride someplace from point A to point B to point C and back, and even then, when you get off the ship, there are some restrictions. You still have to check out and check in. There's accountability. So to an extent, there's more freedom because I'm going someplace. Nobody's really stopping me, unless something major happens, an act of God, or my passport is expired, or something really weird like that, or maybe if I get sick, God forbid. So there are a few factors that could keep me from actually going anywhere, and of course to actually enjoy the journey. So given those parameters, I thought that driving back was the best way. I thought initially I wanted to do a drive up from Miami to Sanford, and Sanford is where you can catch the auto train, and that one comes all the way back up to Virginia. It takes like 27 hours, and so you take your car and then just save gas, I guess, and you can sleep overnight and see the sights from a really nice cozy room. If you're smart enough, you get a room, your own little cabin on a train. I'll do that at one point. I know I'm going to do that. I like trains, but it just didn't seem feasible to me after being on a cruise ship, and then I thought I really would enjoy more just driving into a town and just kind of winging it, booking a hotel on at the last second, and when it's sun is dropping, and I'm thinking, I think I want to go hunker down someplace and get a meal and shower, and then start my trip all over again in the morning. So I enjoyed that, but going across the U.S., no, I would end up in Seattle in a matter of days, and from there I'm going to be going to Alaska, and that's going to be a week. Of course, I will be doing some podcasting. I should do more. I think I slacked a little bit on that one, but it was my birthday month, and I will give myself a little break on that one. I really, in retrospect, I really consider that I should have done at least a couple more podcasts, and I did talk to people. I should have recorded that. Perhaps that's something that I can integrate in the next few weeks. It's just people that I meet, actually record them, and I did some, but it's not like I did an extensive interview or anything. Just wanted to see how people live and how they work and how they find their joy, and pretty much that's what I did every time that I went into during my road trip back to Virginia. So well, we'll see if that's something that I want to keep doing. It seems like it's going to lead that way. Because joy is something different to every person, so it should be interesting to find out. There's something about this week that has been frustrating in a funny way. I've had a craving for ice cream. I don't know why I'm talking about ice cream, but I'm not. It's not like I'm running out of topics to talk about. But I had a thing for ice cream, and I thought I'd go ahead and indulge myself before I go back to eating nuts and twigs again, like I normally do. And I don't buy it to eat it at home like every day and all of that out of a tub. I just buy enough to enjoy. But there's something about ice cream and enjoyment in the moment, because every single place that I've visited lately, and I mean I've gone to like 20 miles out of my way to go get ice cream because it was a highly rated place, and it turns out that when you tell them, can I get it to go, they say yeah, sure. Then they scoop it, put it in the cup, and I'm just all excited, like I'm going to put it in my car, and I know I have just enough time to transport the coveted treat back to my hidey hole, and then I enjoy it later on in the day after my dinner or whatever. Usually when I do that, I have some dessert to pair it with. So if I enjoy it in the moment, then I know that was actually a treat and I just wanted to taste it then. I don't do that often. Normally ice cream is something I'm going to put on top of something else. I already have a battle plan, and that was one of those times. This last place had apple pie by the slice, and they get me with that. I mean, I don't bake anymore, but that's one of my favorite things. So apple pie a la mode, you can't beat that. I mean, if you find something else that's better than that, let me know. You can let me know anytime, but I have a hard time agreeing with that point. I mean, cheesecake may be a close second, but you don't put ice cream on cheesecake, at least not that I know of. But every single place, they just hand you a cup, and they put the spoon in it, they stick it in there, like, go, eat it, enjoy it. And I'm like, no, I want to transport it. I thought I said in plain English. It wasn't plain English. It's, yeah, you can get it to go. They put it in a cup and hand it to you. I have to laugh about it now, because it is just dumb. Just fussing about it, but at the same time, it just taught me a little lesson about how people see ice cream. It's so fleeting, because if you don't eat it quickly, it's just going to turn into, drinkable milk and cream and sugar. And I'm not against that. I've had that. It's not a milkshake, but I'm just saying that I've enjoyed ice cream in any form, and even if it's melted, I'm going to enjoy it as well. So I would think, be in the back of my mind, like, you know what, screw it. If it's going to melt, it's going to melt. I'm going to try to put it in part of the car where it's the shadiest part, and like they just turn on the AC as low as I can, full blast, and I'll get it in there in time, put it in the freezer. So it actually worked out. But every place I've been to has not have any form of putting the ice cream in a cup and put a lid on it to be transported someplace other than, spoon to mouth. So just a little note about ice cream, but I guess it kind of should teach me about just enjoy good things in the moment. Sometimes you can't take it with you. So it leads me into the topic about hanging on to stuff that doesn't work. Ice cream does not work once you digest it. It goes straight to the hips. That's okay. You can't live life just... I'm not going to be in my deathbed. However the method is of my exit, I'm not going to worry about, that one cup of ice cream that got away. I certainly hope not. It will be, but I missed that one time that I didn't get up early in the morning to watch the sunset. Yeah, that may be something that will be a little bit more soul stirring, but there's something to be said for a great cup of ice cream, and there's something to be said for great experiences, but it's in the awareness that we discover that there's something to be enjoyed, or there's something that we need to pay attention to. And going briefly back to my road trip, was just driving through a town and just actually talking to people, and they smile because they see someone from out of town, and the fact that I looked them up and I went there specifically to see that town, no matter how small, out of the way it was. And they get all bubbly, talking about, yeah, you can go hiking, you can do this, you can do that, and you can hear the joy and the pride of where they are, no matter how tiny the town is, or whether they're selling you coffee or maybe some ice cream that you can take to go in the cup without a lid on it. So these are the things we don't get to take, like the physical stuff, like the ice cream. You can't take it with you. You'll consume it, which is one of the throwback. It's one of the, I think it's the downside of being here as a human, is that we don't get to take anything when you cross into whatever it is we came from. Maybe the Egyptians thought of it, like maybe you could try to hack that. And very, very important people with their crap, their pets, that their best bling, and somehow their memories and their power would be transported across that threshold into the unknown. I think we know where we come from. We just forget when we're born. Just as soon as we start going to school, that stuff gets purged out of the brain, and then we don't really remember anything. But I think we all do know where we come from, and possibly even know how long we have here. It's just we lose the conscious idea of why we came here, and then we have to figure it out. That's one hell of an assignment, if you ask me. I'm not going to talk about attachment today, but yeah, I had some good topics about attachment this past week. I did mention there was a family member on the sister-in-law's side who, close relative, died from cancer, and was in a third remission, I believe. And it just came back with a full force, and it was something that cannot be overcome. But it's how people react to when someone they're close to is down. They're on the way out, and it becomes a crusade, almost to try and make their last few days or weeks or months as comfortable as possible. And sometimes we turn a little bit into that martyr syndrome. But that's for the next podcast, because I have a couple stories to share with you. But the thing about letting go, it's more about, I think I'm going to segue into next week's about attachment, because we get attached to the idea that we think we can change other people or make them better. And I've been thinking a lot lately about non-interference. I know Wayne Dyer used to talk about that a lot in his lectures. I have a couple of his books. I have yet to finish them, but I have watched them in video, and I know he talked about it a lot. Unless you're certain that someone is about to hurt themselves in a bad way, it's something catastrophic, you got to let people just trip of their own 2 feet and just fall flat on their faces. It's part of the experience. I know when I've known people that knew that I was in trouble, but they let me fall flat anyway. They didn't think that it was their place. It's very interesting. Many years ago, I would have said I did not appreciate their hands off attitude, but today I have to say that, yeah, because I had to go through that to learn what I did learn. It was a personal matter, and first of all, not to hang on or get too attached to people. I know we have families and relationships. We have parents and siblings, and I'll tell you about my siblings next week. I'm not quite ready to. I have that set aside because it's all about the attachment issue that I observed through the attitudes that people have when somebody is on their way out, and they seem to have like they have to save the world. I think we all go through it. I don't think I did when my parents were dying, and I ended up being stuck doing everything pretty much, especially with my mother. I won't jump ahead, but it becomes a business. It just becomes more transactional. I see my relationships with people turning into the more like when you welcome someone into the job. Somebody had a baby, so someone died in the family, but a few months ago someone arrived fresh, you know, a new recruit, got a new person, no little one. That was in March, so this is June, and so the little tyke's already growing, you know, fat and happy, and I guess just going through the motions, as we all do. Those of us who land here and live and get to live our full life. So it's not like one goes down, the other one comes in, because I don't think that's how nature works, because we all have a purpose. But I just thought that it was an interesting dynamic that we should observe that more closely in our groups and families and work. I love my family, the family members I'm close to. Everybody else, they're pretty much, yeah, they're in the periphery. It's not to say anything bad of them, but if I did not grow up with them, they're not. I don't consider them pretty much family. They share the same name and all that and DNA, but if you're not playing with us kids in the backyard, or we didn't come to you on weekends out to the country where some of the other cousins lived, then I don't consider those people family. Even if you find each other on social media and follow and click like and hey, we're friends now. I haven't seen you in 30 some odd years. I don't think you're family. Family is usually in groups, tight groups. They establish and maintain and continue that relationship, at least that contact, for the long term. But at any rate, I found that there was a lot of sticky issues of sometimes we undertake things that are not really our purpose, but we think that it is. Taking care of someone who's dying, and I know from people from my last job that someone died right there not in the room, but I saw the guy on duty like of a Christmas, and then he died like 2 days after I even talked to him, and he seemed to be like he was plagued with a lot of I might as well shift into death real quick. So because I'm going into the family thing I've been exposed to family issues in the past few weeks, and especially over the Mother's Day weekend. I'll come back to that next week. And I was so happy I don't live near any of these people. I love them. I appreciate them. But it's like, do you bring home your coworkers? I know you don't. You don't bring your boss over. You know, like you move in mom. I mean, sometimes these circumstances, they happen, you know. Somebody loses a home, they got to bring in the old folks in to live with you, and you got your wife and kids, or, you know, your husband and children, and you have your own situations, and these things happen. You know, I grew up in a household where we had to bring a family member in that stayed there for a long time, very long time. So my mother died. Both my parents died. That person's still alive. And and that started with a kindness, something that my parents thought that they had to do, but they could have handled it better. But since those were the only decisions, you know, those were the only tools they had at the time. That was 40 some odd years ago, and people think differently. They were born at a different time, and their attitudes are different. So I have to respect that. I'm not saying that I was happy with the outcome, but in the case of, you know, the dying relative, it's the same thing. Many years later, you know, I have an extended family to the sister-in-law, and they're having two people who are, you know, one already passed away, the other, and they have another one's even closer, and that person is definitely in a terminal situation, and it's just a matter of time. So they're going to get hit with two blows back to back, basically. And this is not like a twice removed cousin or anything. This is within their family nucleus of the parents and the siblings. So it's even more painful because you really get attached to them. But I have two siblings. I'm not that attached to them, and I was not that attached to my parents. So, but I'll go into that next week, because I wonder if you're going to find that interesting. That realizing that you don't have to be forever attached to the people that the family that you were born into any more than you're attached to a job. Because a job you can always quit, they can always fire you. The job can lose the business, and then people get laid off. Somebody can get promoted ahead of you, and then there's no position for you, and so on and so forth. It happens the same with any kind of group. You join an organization, and it's the same thing. You're not born into it, but something qualifies you to be in that organization. So for the family, it's the same thing. It's an organization. You're born into it, so that's your qualification. It's just that you showed up, and then they're the ones who they're supposed to be in charge of showing you the ropes. And hopefully you turn out to be all right. You have a good life. So having a good relationship with those people that are already there to guide you through your life's journey, a part of your journey. And I'll get to that in a moment, because I've realized that we all seem to think that when we lose something, it was ours, but then it wasn't ours to begin with. It's your job, the job that you lost, yours forever. It isn't. You get complacent, get comfortable, and then you think it's going to be. You don't want to move up. Kind of a stuck mentality. Families, it's kind of the same thing. I wonder if you're wondering why I'm talking about families or attachment. It's the ice cream example just came to me because it's gonna come and go, and mom and dad are gonna come and go. One day they're gonna be young and vibrant, and you're a little kid and you're bouncing around like crazy, getting hurt, and they're picking you up and showing you the ropes, and next thing you know, you're on your 2 feet, and you got another sibling who's little, and you're showing that sibling, when they fall flat on their face, you pick them up and tell them, hey, this is how you do it, or you observe them. So there has to be a very healthy combination of involvement, but non-interference. Interference meaning that the things that we need to learn on our own, because you can't teach them that. We just have to observe to make sure that they don't veer into a path where there's going to be danger. There's going to endanger them in some way, permanent, where they check out before their time is up. But then nobody knows when their time is up, so you figure that one out. But so the trip that I took, there was none of the attachment. I did not feel that I had to rush to do anything on a cruise ship. I don't think it robbed me of any enjoyment, but it was more like the first time I did it, it was like, okay, I'm cool. I know how this works now. So the sense of wonder was gone. And I smile when I say that, because it's a cruise. It's not supposed to be the cure for cancer or anything like that, but it's a form of getting away, a little bit of an escape. And not necessarily transformational. It's the experiences when I meet people and I see how they live and how they interact, and I'm taking it all in. I'm a people watcher, and it's amazing how everybody starts off really, really happy, and they get their drink on, and I get it. It's not judgment anyway. I did not get my drink on at all. I'm like, let me just go ahead and get settled in. Stretch out, get a shower, primp up a little bit. I'm going to get that fancy meal. And I had an agenda, I wanted to treat myself to. The first night, sailing, I don't care about the party. There's a party in my mind all the time. I'm good to go. I like to observe everybody else doing their partying, though. That's always very fascinating. And I wonder if they bring that home with them. Like, I remember that time. Probably have the time they don't even remember what they did, unless somebody puts it on YouTube. That's the downside. I am old enough to remember. I have pictures, but before the social media phenomenon hit, so there was no internet. I can actually say that, and I offer no apology for that. I'm glad that I lived through the time that I lived through, because it was a fantastic time. And I don't want to repeat it, but it was fantastic because I've got the experience from the low tech side of the house to the high tech, where my phone tells me, yeah, spying on me right now, I'm pretty sure. It tells me, it finishes my sentences. It's probably the best relationship I've ever been in. That's pretty bad. That's really sad. I try to ditch my phone as much as I can, but I document so many things, pictures and people, that it's always with me. So I'd like to go someplace where I don't have to use it, maybe for a little while. Maybe I should just get a camera and then just ditch the phone, only to send out stuff for all of you to hear and see, to share my journeys, because we get dependent on things. And we get really attached to them, but you won't find me walking and looking down at the idiot box. That's what they used to call the TV. Well, back when it was the boob tube. It had bulbs and all that. If you ever got it at real TV, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I was that kind of kid. I used to take apart radios and the TV. I don't know why. I wanted to see how it worked. But today you can't do that because it has your cell phone is a mini computer, and computers used to be, occupy large rooms, and it was handled by people who wore lab coats. And not today, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can carry a little computer with themselves, and we have knowledge at our fingertips. And sometimes the knowledge is there before you even have the thought. It's already, the algorithms are already formulating possible scenarios for you long before you even do the search on your phone or your computer. I'm not going to get too much into that because it's a fascinating topic, but at the same time we grow attached to these things because now we don't memorize things and can't take it with you. So let me shift into another topic. I like to document food because there's people who know me who really enjoy my documenting food. I started that, and I was not even on Instagram when I started doing that, taking pictures of food, fruits mostly, still lifes, and all that. I should be painting instead of taking pictures, but people love that stuff. And I had a friend who insisted, your food pictures is really great. You should put them on Instagram. So I ended up joining Instagram on a whim. Yeah, there was no other agenda at the time, and I've found myself thinking more and more: do I really give a damn about documenting this meal? Because I just want to sit here quietly, and just the mere thought of I'm just nourishing my body, and also with the quiet. And I'll go into quiet here before I close the nights, because I want to go into the actual topic for the 10 transformational lessons. I should call it a challenge, but that's not what I started out weeks ago, so I'm not going to go there. But it's kind of a challenge. It's to see how you can take 30 days to success. And that book should be available here pretty soon. I've had some setbacks, and I'm sorry to say, but it happens, and I forgive myself for the tardiness. Things happen. I got taken off track completely, and then I lost some of my notes. They probably packed in a box in a big hurry when I was kicked out of my old place, and then I had to move it into storage. So it's someplace in a storage, in a box. I have to figure it out. If not, I have to recreate my notes or reconsider how I want to take the direction for these transformational steps that we should take that I've discovered in recent months. Been building over years, and the past few months is when actually I would say I took notice. And I'm sure the same thing could happen to a lot of you, that you had things just staring you in the eyes for a long time, and all you needed was a quiet mind and some peace and quiet and just calm. A calm mind is what opened up that intuition and brought the one next topic that I wanted to discuss was of awareness. So in the awareness stage, so we started with the dissatisfaction, and I milked that for a while, and then I realized, okay, that people think I'm going to be full of it because I didn't move from that, but the satisfaction was so big because Now here I am talking about it again. So the satisfaction is when you actually realize, I don't like what's going on in my exterior life. And I already discussed many times, and I'll do it again briefly, that whatever it's in your physical world is inside your mind. It came out from your mind. It's probably, if you're unhappy with it, it's probably the stuff you said over and over. This is not what I want. So I want to shift you into saying, and I'm learning with you because I caught myself going away from this recently, just driving, and I did that. It pops into my head suddenly, and I kind of become a little bit, no, not upset, but more like, not even embarrassed, more like, okay, I kind of slacked and I need to get back on track. So it's called awareness. So from the satisfaction is you're not happy with what you're seeing around you. How did you get there in the first place? And when you get there and you don't like the external results, then you have to look inside. So there's going to be, in the next week, if you want to challenge, I want to challenge you to ask you a question. When something happens and you ask yourself, is it me? Go ahead and shift into, is it me? And then look inside of yourself and address your inside, and then compare how you're feeling. And I know that talking about feelings is kind of hard for some people. I was one of those people, but how it makes you feel? Do you feel content, happy? Do you feel sad, or just really, or angry? Anger is another sign that you're not liking what you're seeing, but you're not fixing where it came from. So the things that I manifested in my life in the past year, boy oh boy, I told myself recently, watch what you're saying, because you've already discharged that weapon, and when it went off all over the place. It wasn't even the saloon doors, the doors swinging, and it wasn't even like that. It was more like a detonation at a quarry, and it was just really shattering. And it came in layers, one after another. And these are things that I retrace back, which is why you should keep definitely did I mention that you should have a diary? Even a diary, just a notebook. Just write it down every day or every week. I don't want to be too tight, like some people teach that stuff, like, oh, you're going to manifest good stuff if you just write it every day. Don't waste your damn time writing every day, all day. I've tested it. I've forced myself to write stuff, and none of that stuff came to fruition, not in the way that I was taught that it would. Because the writing connects the physical with the mental, and it's a way to tell your brain, I don't want to say a lie, I'm believing my new reality, my new life, my new persona, and so forth. So whatever it is that you want to change, improve, it has to come from that thinking, from that moment, the realization. So the next topic from this satisfaction comes awareness. So awareness is you already know you're dissatisfied with what your life has turned out to be, what not making enough, your marriage is suffering, etc. You have family problems. I will talk about families again next week. Tell you about my brothers. And I'm glad that I'm single and I live alone. I'm so sorry. That's naughty. But I don't have those problems. I'm not married. I don't have those problems anymore. I just don't have the interaction of uncles and cousins, and I don't have that stuff. And I'm very happy because I can just work on myself. So, but you guys may have these situations, right? You have your parents are still alive, which is great. I think it's fantastic. You have siblings, which is great again. And you could be an only child. What a great opportunity to work on you, because you don't have those same distractions, unless your parents are really big on hovering. I don't do hovering very well, which is why I left home so early. So consider these as challenges for yourself that you should write something down. I'll give you one example, and I didn't want to go too much into it. Money. There was there's a product that I've designed. I'm sure you've heard of vision boards, and I don't like vision boards because the vision board is limiting. So you do a square or maybe a circle, and it's it could be cut-offs from magazines. That's how that stuff started. You like the picture of a car. That's the car that you're dreaming someday you're gonna buy, or you just really want that car, and you just clip it and then just paste it onto a piece of paper or cardboard or into a book. Some people do books, and I do books. The book is something you can carry with you, and then just put it in a bag. And if you need to add something to it, you can tear a page from a magazine and then just stick it in there. And then later on, when you come home and you have some quiet time, you can clip it, take some scissors, and then you can just take a few minutes and just add it, just paste it or tape it to that page to map out the trajectory of what you want your life to be. So I did it a little bit differently. I'm not going to show you here. That's something that I prepare, customized. It's customized to every client. It's not that expensive, but it takes some time to put it together because it's a narrative. I will have to give you a questionnaire and ask you these questions that are going to force you to think about where you want to go, who you want to be, and how you want to be, and then we need to put you there. In order to do that, you should put your book. So this is going to be a roadmap. If I just did a board, anybody can do a board. You can go on any website and do a board. If you got PowerPoint, you can do a board, and you can clip. You don't even have to buy magazines and trash them, and cut them all up and put them into a physical product. You can do it into a digital product, which is what I did. So mine is done digital as a digital product, but it's also downloadable into a physical product if you wanted it. So I experimented with the formatting, and I was thinking about money. I just, off the cuff, I knew there was money coming from different places, but I had no idea about the timeline and the amount. So I just shot some numbers, and then I started writing myself checks. So you can do that. You can go on Canva or Shutterstock. They do blank checks. You can do it yourself if you don't want to contact me and do this product because it's more comprehensive. This is really going to map out things you want to do. Let's say for the next 6 months to a year. So it's going to be a custom product, but you can test this right now. You go online. I know if the people don't want to pay for these accounts, they don't cost that much per month, and you can cancel it. You can do a 7-day trial. You should have enough time to do a 7-day trial like Canva or Shutterstock to produce something. I know Shutterstock.com has. I don't work for them, so I don't get any money. But they have a great product. If you want to get a blank check, you select whatever format blank check they have. Edit the picture. You type in your name and you put a date. Just say date. And then you write in like you do a check, personal check. You write it to yourself. And then you put the amount, and then you write out the amount like you do a normal check. And then you save it, and then you can download it to your computer if you want, and let it go. You could print it, send it out for printing, and then I wouldn't go as far as framing it, but you could frame it or put it in that book. If you have a notebook, just print it. It doesn't have to be pretty. Just print it and stick it in a notebook someplace where you can see it. If you want to, you could put it on a wall, or you could easily put it on the door, behind the door. I show this to other people I work with. I put it behind the door, tape it to your front door as you leave for work every day. You see that, okay? And I'm going to go back to the awareness that what you think is what you end up doing. How you do it is the one thing you have to eliminate from this equation, because if you think too much about the how, then you're going to get all tripped up. It's not going to happen at all. So I knew there was some possibility of money, and some of it I just dreamed up. Like I had no reason. Maybe my business was going to take off and I was going to be able to generate this kind of revenue. I just made up just a quick scenario, and I just paid myself X amount of dollars. I did this like every other few months. So I timed them, and each month that I wrote a check for, it had a different amount. But the amount, of course, you can guess it was a much higher dollar amount, okay, from when I started. So in past month, there was a money situation that was coming, but no one knew when that was going to hit and how much it's going to be, or what was going to happen. And it finally came to fruition. There was some delays, and I had a calm mind because I knew it was coming. But like I said again, I had to forget about the how. The how was completely out of my hands. And if you treat anything that you manifest as it's out of my hands, but this is how I'm going to put myself in the direction of what I want, you will end up aligning yourself with that goal. So try this. I know I'm running out of time, which is it's great. I'm pushing to be more efficient. So you have to develop awareness. So if you're dissatisfied and you're listening to me tonight, that's great, because that's going to push you to be better. So try to check, put a date and the amount, and then download it. And like I said, I put it against the wall, however you want to display it, or you can do it on your computer screen, on your desktop. It's right there like every day. But I don't want you to write on a piece of paper every day. I mean, you can write it on a diary. I wrote myself a check for, thank you. I'm so grateful. I wrote myself a check today for X amount of dollars. And you put the date and let it go. Because that's exactly what happened with me. When I let it go, I had a bunch of checks. And just like, I wouldn't say negative, but things that were not things that I wanted to happen, happened one after the other. But then the things that were positive, like those checks, they came at intervals where I believe were the right timing, where I would make the best use of the money. Not before when I wanted it, or not necessarily on the date that I had selected. I just randomly selected a date when I started, and then I just, like, every 2-3 months, okay, I'm going to write myself another check for another bunch of money. Okay, so work on awareness this week. The awareness that you want to improve, and you want to attract only the things you want. And be aware that whatever you think is whatever you thought already is what you're seeing at your home. Whatever you're driving, you don't like your car. I can go through the whole list all over again, but give it some thought. And next week I want to talk about more about the attachment issue and some families, because some of this manifestation stuff is going to come in handy for you if you're having any issues with your family, or you're just not feeling as joyful being around them. And it should always be about finding a little place of joy and time. So with that said, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a fantastic week. Write yourself a check. You deserve it. I know you do. So I'll see you next week, and I'm going to be in Alaska next week. So we'll see how that's going to turn up. I'm not making any solid plans. Once I get there, I think I want to wing it and see where it takes me. How about that? And I hope you enjoy coming along with me on my little adventures. So I'll see you again soon, next Monday.